Wake up. It's time for Primal Scream.
Hey, welcome back to the Primal Scream. I'm Matt.
I am Todd.
And what is it? What's today? The 19th, right?
Yep.
September 19th, 2013. Oh, so
Junior leaves in about a week and a half.
Yeah, so if you haven't listened to Junior's podcast, that was number 2.
That was a good one.
Yeah, I enjoyed that. It would be a little time capsule for him to think back on. And
let's not get too creepy.
It's not going to be creepy. It's going to be fucking crazy for him. It's going to be great.
All right.
Oh, soft and...
Yeah, just soft and mushy.
Right,
He's joined the military. Let's not be bitches.
Jeez.
I'm just kidding.
Wow.
I'm just joking.
Normally, coming from Todd, doesn't
You're right.
normally come from
I
you.
am a softie. I'm just being sarcastic.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry.
Well, hey, tonight we have a special guest, co-host. Is it co-host or just guest? Fuck it, guest.
Could be a regular guest too.
I would love it if it was.
If he's good. If he doesn't perform well tonight, we'll have to readjust things.
On a previous podcast that we didn't put on a website because we had to change names and craziness.
Or actually get a studio
I really
set up.
enjoyed having Rock on.
Oh, he was great.
So let me introduce Rock. Or Rock, introduce yourself. I got to get a beer.
Hey, this is Rock. Second time on the Primal Scream. Really enjoyed the first discussion. Looking forward to another good one tonight.
Yeah, let me put it out there that Rock is the one who put together the idea of what we're going to talk about tonight. I thought it was a fantastic idea of finding a gentleman that we all kind of like over the last week have watched over and over again, Sam Harris. And we're going to talk about some of his philosophies and stuff like that. I can't wait, man. I'm stoked for this one.
There's so many different avenues that this can go down. Listening to the Joe Rogan podcast, which I love. It inspired us to do this. I love his whole philosophy. I love how he handles himself, his ideology. It has changed my perspective of what people are or what people can be, because I saw him as a UFC fighter, as a actor.
I saw him as a meathead. I just thought of him as just a meathead.
He did show host.
He did
right.
Yeah, he did UFC. I mean, I thought he was great on that. I thought he was awesome on news radio. Yeah. Funny as hell as that. I never really cared for his stand-up very much, but I just thought he was just a meathead. It was just terrible.
I mean, he says it the best. I was listening to the David Cho podcast with him and David Cho today, and he said, the best podcasting is so amazing because people can get to know you better than any other time in the world. You can bullshit somebody for a while, but you listen to them talk for hundreds of hours.
Yeah.
And if you don't know that guy by now, after hundreds of hours of listening to him, you're never going to know him. And to be listening to him for as long as you and I have been, which is fairly limited. It's not even been there like every episode.
I want to say I've listened to half of his podcast, maybe.
It's very inspiring.
Yeah.
Made me want to really look at things a lot more clearly and understanding that things are a lot more complex. So I want this podcast to be great. I don't want it to be, I know it might sound like his a little bit because we're just hanging out and we're just talking about subjects. So I don't want it to be like a crappy version of his because he does a great job. I just want it to be a great Primal Scream.
But let me add that he made a really good point too with David Lee Roth saying what makes great shows is the ones where people are hanging. It's not
true.
That's not the ones where like, hey, it's 8:00, it's sunny outside, we're going to play a song for you and then come back and talk for a while and then have to do music and back and forth, or it's all, even like Howard Stern is kind of set up a certain way for his radio show. He likes the one where people just hang out and talk and you get to know people. And I think that's
very relaxed.
And that's the whole reason why you and I thought we would be willing to do this, is that this is what we do, is we hang out together hours at a time, just chatting.
Right.
So,
one of the guys that I had asked one of the guests that I had asked to be on tonight with us, because I thought he had a very unique outlook on religion, on this topic. I forwarded him the YouTube video because he was really interested in it, and he's been listening to all of our previous recordings, our trial recordings, but he pulled out the last second. And I asked, I'm like, so are you coming over? Are you doing this thing tonight or what? I work with him. And he's like, well, my wife kind of brought up this subject that she's going to listen to this. and other people are going to hear this. And it really messed with his head. And when I heard that, I thought, this is exactly why we use aliases. First of all, I wish I didn't have to.
Yeah.
But
So
this
do I.
is exactly why I need this as an outlet, because we feel like so often we can't say what we truly want to say. Every time we go to say something, we stop and we think about it. How is it going to be perceived? Who's it going to hurt? Who's it going to bother? And you never let out.
Or will you get
your
in trouble
true-
for it?
Or will you get in trouble for it? Will you lose your job? Will you get sued?
Right.
It's so frustrating that you can't even be yourself to your wife.
Well, that's what surprised me is I can understand work and things like that, but hopefully your wife knows you pretty well. What would she care? I mean, my wife might be mad if she hears me talk about something nasty or something gross or something from my past, but
Right.
otherwise she wouldn't.
And I told him what the subject matter was clearly about tonight.
Yeah.
And he's like, I just kind of feel uncomfortable.
Talking religion, or are you talking free will?
Well, I think the free will,
that's a good
the
point.
free will thing clearly goes into, well, Sam Harris does anyway. Sam
Gotcha.
Harris, we might as well just get into this bitch right now.
We're in it. Do it. Finish your thought.
Well, Sam Harris, the YouTube video that you sent us,
Mm-hmm.
Rock, about the illusion of free will. And Sam Harris, I don't really know his bio.
I can give a
either.
little background about
Why,
it.
Go for
yeah,
it.
why don't you go ahead?
He is a very outspoken atheist, kind of like Richard Dawkins, if anybody knows who he is. Christopher Hitchens is another very famous one, the late Christopher Hitchens. And Sam Harris has written a few books on the topic, wrote a book called The End of Faith, Letter to a Christian Nation, and then he also wrote a book that coincides with the lecture of free will, titled Free Will, 75 pages. It goes along the same exact lines as the lecture, and he does lectures all over the world, as far as I know. All of them are on YouTube that I'm aware of, and to me, he's just extremely interesting, extremely logical, extremely composed, and I've learned a lot from the guy. I've read almost all of his books and listened to probably everything there is to listen to on YouTube.
He made a point of saying in one of his videos, some guy's like, "Are you gonna write a book?" Because I mean, this is like 75 pages long or 100 pages. And he's like, "Why would I write a 100-page book when I can get my point across to you in 20 or 30 pages? I don't know what more you want from me." He's like, "Usually philosophers have to like."
Well, if I'm paying $30 for your philosophy book, I guess maybe I want more.
Right, but I think a lot of people are going towards get to the point type of books.
Sure.
75 pages versus 400 pages. If you can put it in a short, concise narrative like that,
If you're succinct about it,
Right.
you would think it'd be plausible.
real quick, and we will get back to this, but a point that I wanted to make is I think consumerism is changing, fundamentally changing. In the last week alone, I have been sent a handful of YouTube videos of really funny fucking commercials. And then it turns out at the end of these commercials, they're like, "Oh, by the way, these are real products." And I'm like, "Oh shit, I want to look at this."
You have an example? I don't think I've heard of it.
Dollar Shave Club.
Oh, you did send me that one. You never heard of Dollar Shave Club?
I never heard of Dollar Shave Club.
The guy who became a gazillionaire overnight.
Poo-pourri.
Oh, Poo-pourri is a new product.
I mean,
what the hell is that? It smells like poop or what?
you spray it
it's
into your
potpourri.
toilet.
It's an oil that
Yeah.
you spray in the toilet. You take a dump, and all you smell is potpourri.
You
And
gotta
it-
be shitting
and it
me.
tri- no.
It's a layer
Are
of
you
oil over the
serious?
water and doesn't release gases.
It's crazy.
What
So
a great invention.
Yeah, there's two plugs for people.
That's pretty
Yeah,
killer.
But I think that it's the comedy of YouTube and people looking at this and going, "I don't need to." There was an interview with this guy, the CEO, and they said,
Of
do you,
Poo-pourri?
no, I'm sorry, of Dollar Shave Club.
Mhm.
And they said, what isn't it daunting a little bit that you're thinking about, messing with the big boys of Gillette
Oh,
and the different razor companies? And he's like, no, I'm just doing it my own way. And having advertisement in YouTube allows certain freedom of
Right.
jocularity, of almost inappropriateness, slightly inappropriate.
sure.
And it makes people laugh. And when you're entertained like that, you're more, I think, for me anyway, pulled towards that product. You're
Yeah.
like, oh, is this real? Oh, shit, it
Advertisers
is
use
real.
comedy all the time. Yeah.
Okay. Is it on vibrate?
Yeah.
No, you didn't. You just
I
You
want to
just
make sure
flushed
it
your
was on.
fucking-
No, but I want to make sure. I thought it was on vibrate.
All right. But anyway,
I'm sorry,
that
people.
just took me off guard this week. Now back to Sam Harris.
But if you think about it, though, if you're on YouTube and you start your thing your own way, and then advertisements see what you're doing, and they say, "Okay, we'll take a chance, and we like what he's doing."
right.
You know,
Yeah.
you're able to slowly pull people. It's how we would like this podcast to be. We're not that we could get some, music or movie star on here to launch something. You know what I mean? We're just doing it for fun as a group to have a conversation. And then if it picks up, it picks up.
Right.
And that'd be a great thing for it to start with, like a grassroots kind of thing.
This actually does kind of tie in a little bit to Sam Harris because he, and correct me if I'm wrong. Right now, I'm going to agree with you, and I'm going to talk about all the things that I agree, and then I'm going to be devil's advocate so that we can have some debate a little bit.
Sure.
Because I want people to be able to listen to this and go, okay, what's the other side? Why are these dicks only looking at it from one side? But Sam Harris talks about, as far as when I was watching the video, and how he looks at free will as we don't have free will according to the idealistic definition that we all want to apply to the term free will, which, as you can, every experience that you've ever been in touch with in your life, you have to pull from to make a decision for your future, and then that's truly free will. You're free to decide because you have a plethora of knowledge, but that's not how it is, and you're actually very limited. He gave the example at one point, I'm going to be talking to you, and as I'm talking to you, I want you to pull out a major city in your head. So I'm going to keep talking, and I can guarantee you that the city that you're thinking of is not Hong Kong. He just throws that out there, Hong Kong. And he goes, you could be thinking of anything. You probably thought of St. Louis or Chicago or something. But even though you know the major city, Hong Kong, you know of it, you've heard of it, you probably know hundreds of major cities or thousands of major cities. But when I asked you that question, you were limited to the responses that you could give because your limited brain only gave you a very narrow tunnel of options to choose from.
Or the things that are familiar to do. Because when I was watching that, I thought San Francisco. Because that's where I'm from. I like it there. And so that's my limited thing. I guess I could have thought, well, what's something crazy I could think of? But he even talked about that too, stopping and then picking something else random.
And then the influence that made you choose San Francisco, being born there, you had no control over that part of your life.
Right.
Right. So we don't actually have free will according to what we would like to define free will as. But we do still have choice. What?
Are you wearing a Sam Crow t-shirt?
I am.
Oh my God.
I love that TV show, Sam Crow.
Sons of Anarchy. Just
Sons
for
of
anybody.
Anarchy.
Oh
I
my
fucking
God.
love
I
that
just am
show.
sitting here looking at you talk, and I look at your shirt, and I'm like,
I'm like,
what
dude,
the
you're
fuck?
staring at my titties. Why are you staring at my titties?
Where'd you get that at?
Online. I don't know.
Oh,
No.
Target?
No, I don't know. It's one of the stores around here. I don't know. Anyway. But thanks for interrupting my thought process.
Sorry, just caught me off guard.
So Sam Harris.
You were saying that we still have choice, is what you were saying.
Right. We still have choice, but we are defined and limited to our choices by how we were raised. What types of influences have we had throughout our lives? And so back to this thing that I brought up about the Dollar Shave Club or whatever, I didn't have that option before I saw that commercial to, free will to choose, I want to do this until that was brought into my sphere of understanding of acknowledge. But once you see it, now I have a choice and I can decide whether I want to put that option into my very limited sphere.
But Sam Harris would argue that you really did not, as the conscious viewer of your own life, did not make that choice because thoughts just arise in consciousness without us thinking them before we think them.
That's right.
And also the idea that we are the totality of our past experiences and our biological makeup, and all of that put together has made a person choose to be, or I guess that's, for lack of a better term, choose to become a scientist, Could he have chose not to be a scientist? Well, everything that has made him who he is compelled him to make that choice.
So could I have been a scientist if my
No,
background?
you were fucked from the beginning.
If I had a different, let me say this: could I have been a scientist having come from the same exact background I came from, and then because that's I'm like, even now I'm like, you know what? If I could have applied myself, I can do anything. That's my thought, and so I try to instill that in my kids.
The idea is that we want to believe that we can.
Right. I didn't believe that I could. Now, as an adult looking back, I'm like, God, if I just had some clarity or somebody to point me in the right direction and said, listen, you can do this if you're willing to work hard enough and put the time in and all the effort, blah, blah, blah. You could do that if you wanted. You could be an MD or something like that. It makes me go, okay, so I could have, instead of me thinking that at the time, I could never be a doctor. I don't have the capacity to do it. I don't have the work ethic to do it. I mean, all those things limited my thinking to do it. And so I'm wondering if I'd had the right person influence me in my life, it would have been part of that pool that I could have picked. I could have unconsciously picked from because it was part of the assumptions that I could do. Right? Huh? Listen. You two have much better grasp of Sam Harris than I do because I watched that thing over and over again, and I was like, maybe I just keep watching videos. It'll eventually sink in.
The tough part about me really truly enjoying listening to that video and subsequent videos of Christopher Hitchens. Was they use terminology that I'm not really comfortable with. You know, they're talking about exponential or not exponential, extemporaneous thoughts and they're using these verbiage that I'm just like, all right, I have to think, what the fuck is the definition of that?
Right.
Oh,
he's a neuroscientist. So he'll use
so it takes me. I am behind the curve when they're talking about this stuff. So they're talking about things, and then I'm struggling to understand what they're trying to get at. And then he'll give an example, and I'll be like, oh.
One thing that came up in my mind, this is not a point that Sam Harris made in the free will lecture that I'm aware of, and I've watched a few different versions of it. Do we think that animals have free will? Let me just throw that out there to you guys.
See, I don't
think you could understand it until you understand.
That's what helped me because did he make a grizzly bear analogy about a bear doesn't think about being a bear, it just does what a bear does, and that's the way they run their lives. And so that actually helped me kind of encapsulate it for me, going, okay, bears don't think about anything. They're hungry and they eat and they have to go to the bathroom. They hunt. I mean, they don't stop and go, oh, what am I going to do today? And make a conscious thought. They are part of consciousness. It's just is who they are.
But aren't we the only organism on this planet that doesn't act that way?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Well, put it this way. The analogy I think you're thinking of is, let's say there's a lady laying on a park bench and she gets mauled by a bear. Do the family members have ill will or want to seek revenge on the bear? Versus if a person killed that woman, they will have more than likely have vengeful feelings toward the person and not the bear, because they see the person as having intentionality and having the options to not kill her, not to have the inclination to fight the urge to kill that woman on the bench.
The control,
right?
That willpower.
So they see the bear as not having that option, just acting on instinct. Most people do, but the person as having the ability to choose. I think that, since we are just evolved apes, that's what we are. We evolved from ape-like ancestors.
There's still a missing link.
There's going to be missing.
I enjoy that way of thinking, but until they find the missing link, I'm still going to hold out.
There's been so many links filled in the gaps that there's just as much. This is a digression, but there's just as much evidence for the theory of evolution as there is for the Earth revolving around the sun. I mean, it's scientific fact. It's not a controversial issue. But
no, I totally agree with that. We have evolved.
Right. So given the fact that we've evolved from apes that were also like a bear, probably just acted on instinct, at some point we developed the ability to think critically and to have self-awareness and all these other logical faculties. But at what point did the ability of free will get inserted into the human being through our evolutionary process? Or are we still just animals that can think in a higher order way?
We can.
And I'd be with the latter. I would think that we're just higher order animals that have had, for whatever reason, the ability to think past something.
And just like animals, we're just like them in the sense that we are a product of our genetics and our environmental experiences. We just have the ability to think in a higher order way, and that's tough for a lot of people to think about and to swallow, because I mean that's so much of what it feels like to be human, is the fact that we have the ability to choose our path.
Well, let me add to that. What I took from his lecture as well was that it and we talked about this today. To me, it adds to it. I love the fact that he said that. I did take a lot of notes.
I took a few, but I don't know if I took a lot.
I did like the idea that he said this actually should make us more compassionate, more thoughtful, more understanding. With this way of thinking,
I agree.
It removes all that. So you should. I mean, and what's weird too is that he's been labeled like a right-wing conservative, all these things, and I never heard him talk politically.
Who, Sam Harris?
Yeah.
Oh, he's more liberal than anything, more left.
That's what I thought. And I thought, well, wait a second. He's talking about compassion, thoughtful understanding, and if anything, his talk about free will says that you can't hate somebody because they went and shot somebody.
Don't think for a moment that because you're Democratic, because you're a Democrat, that you own that type of feeling. Because
what do you mean?
What did you just
compassionate?
Say? Yeah, you can't say, well, I can't believe that they labeled him right-wing conservative.
Because when he's compassionate.
You can't
and thoughtful and understanding.
Yeah, you can't say
people on the left want to take money.
We own those emotions. Republicans, right-wingers, you're not compassionate, you're not thoughtful, and you're not caring. You can't say that the Democratic Party owns that. Fuck,
right.
Look at
Absolutely.
what Barack Obama is doing.
Well, when it comes to taking money from one people and give it to another, that's if you define compassion that way, they kind of own that.
There you go. That's what I was thinking.
Whatever. All right. I'm officially putting my
still about semantics.
Devil's advocate hat on at this point. Hey, you know what?
I hate it when you're mean.
I wish that I had the exact title of that YouTube video. Is it The Illusion of Free Will?
All you have to do,
Harris,
I got it
The
right
Illusion
here.
of Free Will.
There's multiple lectures that he's given on the topic, and they're all slightly different, but all you have to do is type in Sam Harris free will. Boom.
Right.
You got all kinds of links on YouTube.
Sam Harris on free will, quote unquote. That's what it is.
Because at 5 minutes, 30 seconds into this video, he talks about the assumptions of free will. Our will is a product of our experiences. Nothing more, nothing less. When I think of this, when I was, running this through my mind the last few days, do you think it could be that we have just fucked it all up? That somebody put it down in the Bible and we have misinterpreted that message of free will the same way we've misinterpreted 90% of what people say is God's teaching. As far as free will, when you read about free will in the Bible and it says God gave us free will, the ability to choose. Okay, but if it was written in a time where slavery was the moral thing to do or to have, I have no idea what was that.
I have no idea.
But that was pretty cool. But if slavery was the moral way of civilization at that time period, because in the Bible it talks about, and Sam Harris talks about this, how moral is the Bible when it talks about this is how you treat your slaves. Beat your kids with a rod. Don't spare the rod. So could we have missed the mark on the definition that the Bible gives us of free will? Could it have simply been saying, not this mystic, beautiful, idealistic definition of free will, but simply, we're giving you the option of choosing what you want to choose. Not saying necessarily that you have this magical ability that no other creature has. Because right now, if you listen to Sam Harris and you have the definition in your head of this magical definition of free will, God-given right that we are different from angels and all of this, according to the Bible, then you're going to say, well, yeah, Sam Harris is right on the fucking money. We don't have any control over our thoughts that come into our heads or the answers that we give about major cities. If we don't have control over that, we don't have free will. What if we just missed the mark on the definition of that in the Bible? And
I think he talks a lot. I think he talks a lot more about. I think he talks much more in depth about the idea of free will than it just being an arbitrary kind of like thing that was offered to us through the Bible. I think he delves into it pretty seriously about the scientific idea behind free will and how it, you didn't pick your parents, you didn't pick your community, you didn't pick all those things, and so those things, I mean, it goes way beyond just the idea of free
But I think
will,
he's giving that. I think he's giving those examples because he's working off the idea of he has a passion of bringing down religion. He has he has a passion about. I mean, to me, when I listen to him, I think religion is a joke. If you can't prove it scientifically, why are we killing people in the name of it?
Right. I totally agree. I think he's more of presenting an idea, and he's not like Hitchens. Sorry,
Christopher
Hitchens. That was his mission. He said that in one of his lectures. This is the last part of my life is going to be doing nothing but showing how these jihadists, these people are taking religion and using it to kill people. They want to die. They want this world to end. They'll do anything they can to make sure that happens and take as many people they can with them. And that's what my goal is. So it's ending religion like that. And he talked about Judaism, Christianity too, not quite as horrible. But he, that to me would seem like somebody who's going after religion. I think of Sam Harris as just presenting a very clear, a very provable, right, fact-based way of thinking about something, and it doesn't correlate with the ideas of religion. And I know he's kind of touted as the guy who is anti-Christian or whatever. I just see him as just stating facts. I don't see him as going, I'm taking this shit down.
I took a. I'm laughing.
You're
about
really
this
quiet over there, just FYI.
I'm laughing about this because I failed this class at my local university, but it was a logics class, right? And what I see Sam Harris doing is saying, if A plus B equals C, then clearly, logically, C minus B equals A. All right? I see him applying that type of logic to religion. And he says it so much more eloquently that I have a hard time following it. But I see him using that type of logic with religion, and I see religious-based people coming back at him, or spiritual people like Deepak Chopra, getting so angry because they're like, listen, I can't show you A, and I can't fucking show you B, but I know that C exists. Yeah. And Sam Harris is like, okay, well, that sounds really ignorant, because prove to me there's an A and show me there's a B, and if you show that it equals C, then I can follow you. But nothing logical is making sense of your spiritual, no evidence-based reasoning.
Right.
And what's wrong with seeing the world through a logical lens?
Well, and that's the same thing that you hear people say, hey, if that's the religion you like or the spiritual I like, oh, good for you. If it makes you feel good and you're okay with that, that's fine. But don't say that it's it, because I'm gonna say it's not, and then you're gonna give me shit about it. That's really the conflict that happens, is people, nobody's willing on either side. Well, I shouldn't say that. Atheists seem to be pretty okay about some things, but nobody's willing to say, hey, you like that? Awesome. You do what you got to do. I like what I like. Are you cool with that? Thanks. I appreciate it. Well, we're all going to get along.
But the problem is we're not all going to get along, because religious groups try to use government to force their version of morality on everybody else. Gay marriage is a good example. We can't legalize gay marriage because God does not want us to legalize gay marriage. He thinks it's something that we should kill people for.
Right. I mean, what's the Baptist church that does all of the...
Westboro Baptist Church.
Thank you very much. I knew you would know it because you're a smart motherfucker. But the Westboro Baptist Church, I was just listening to this the other day about how the spokesperson for that church was the daughter of the church members. Well, she was, like I said, the main spokesperson. So she's out there talking to the media. Why are they doing this? Why are they protesting this funeral or that funeral? And she finally had an awakening and said, we're doing this more out of hate than out of love. And her family disowned her. Now,
she was pretty hot too, actually.
I haven't seen that. I haven't seen any pictures of her.
I'm gonna have to Google that real quick.
But let me ask you, if Sam Harris is correct because I'm going to be trying to, the best I can, take the devil's advocate on this. If Sam Harris is correct, her whole life has been the exact same as her brothers or her sisters. I have no idea about her family, but she has been in the same well of experiences as anybody else in this church. She probably feels it more deeply than a lot of the followers. So how is it that she came to a different realization than the other followers? And now she's disowned. I mean, her whole family has disowned her, and she has apologized to certain people. I think I actually fucking heard this on the Joe Rogan podcast.
But we don't know her story. Maybe she talked to some people outside of her little group that got in her head a little bit.
Well, she was the spokesperson, so she would have had the most
contact with the
outside world with other ideas.
Then what's weird though is that her father could easily use that. This is what happens when you touch the world.
Right? Exactly.
This is what happens to you. She's now cast out. She's now part of the people who are going to hell. All that kind of stuff. The reason I first heard about her was before the Joe Rogan podcast was who is that country's Vince Gill was playing a concert.
Okay.
And they were protesting his concert because he got divorced and married another woman, and they consider that adultery. And so they were protesting outside, and they were wearing all their T-shirts and had all their banners and posters and stuff like that. And he went outside and said, "Hey," they're like, "Hey, what are you doing out here? Are you adulterer?" He's like, "I just wanted to come out and see what hate looked like. I'd never really seen it up close. I'd heard about you guys and read about you, and I just wanted to see what it looked like up close. So thanks for letting me know what it looks like." I mean, he was like, I guess supposedly very clinical about it. It's like, this is what I fight for every day, is make sure people like you, know that there's lots of love in the world.
Have you seen some of those counter protests to the Westboro Baptist Church people?
No.
The bikers that show up and will block the way.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff like that. Then there's some people who come out and do some funny things. Like they'll make their own posters and come out next to the guy holding the sign that says "God hates fags," and he'll come and stand next to him with a sign that says "He loves cock," and just follow him around the whole time. Literally, just follow him around the whole time. It's so funny.
No, I haven't seen that.
Yeah, we gotta stop talking about it. He's gonna get a big head.
But listen, these podcasts are about our experiences. We flood our experiences with the Joe Rogan podcast and with other outlets, and they inspire us. They put thoughts into our heads, and they inspire us to think a certain way. If Rock wouldn't have showed us that YouTube video, I could have given 2 shits about Sam Harris. I wouldn't even have fucking thought about him.
You should read some of his books. They're pretty awesome. The way he speaks is exactly how he writes too. So,
oh, really?
Pretty good
All right.
stuff.
And at times, some of his YouTube videos, he is really funny too, and he has that comedic timing that makes you want to be like. He engages you that way with
in
humor.
a real dry way, but he throws it out there and makes the crowd laugh just a little bit.
Right. But one of the things about the Joe Rogan podcast that I took when he was talking to Duncan Trussell, and they were really into this virtual reality talk, right? It made me start to wonder, do you think that we would ever have a digital Jesus? And that was a quote. That was
I don't even know what that means.
That was a quote. That was something from Duncan Trussell. But he was talking about virtual reality and how this technology is taking over to where we're getting closer to the singularity, to where human beings will merge with technology closer and closer and closer until we have it's in our body.
I believe that's going to happen. Yeah.
So when Sam Harris gives this argument about, or the example of, pick a major city. If you have a singularity with computers and you're able to have this virtual selection out in front of you, oh, you want me to pick a major city? I see this virtual deck of cards with every major city that I've ever been educated with. And at that point, I can say, yeah, I'm going to pick that major city.
But that still wouldn't indicate free will. That just says you have more options. You still have to. Your choice comes because of prior causes and prior experiences. Maybe he, like Todd would choose San Francisco because he sees San Francisco and he has a special connection with it. So,
but will that bring us closer to this idealistic definition of free will? And at that point, will it become our digital Jesus? At that point, after singularity, give us these options.
You mean following something, right? our digital Jesus in the sense that we're going to follow something.
Well, it's going to enable us to actually do things that the Bible is saying that we can do. Like right now, we clearly don't have total free will by the definition that Sam Harris is giving with his examples. But if we incorporate technology into us, if I'm able to use my iPhone, when you ask me these questions, and I'm like, oh, you know what? Give me 5 minutes. Let me pick and choose what I want to decide on. I think we're getting closer to that idealistic definition of free will. Okay. So as we get closer to singularity, are we going to be closer to a religious experience, a digital Jesus?
My thought would be, how do you think it's explained? And again, Rocky can probably do this better than I could. Or you can help me think of this. If I was given that deck of cards of any city I wanted to choose, and my first inclination is San Francisco, but then I'm like, oh no, I'm going to do something different this time. I'm going to pick something crazy that I've never thought of before, never been to before. I'm going to pick somewhere in Indonesia and click on it. That to me sounds like more of a choice, but is it so he would be saying that it's my background and my upbringing and all those things in my life up to that point that's saying I should pick something different because that's the way I was brought up, and so I'm going to do something different and wild. And so, I mean, that's what it gets muddled for me.
And also, it's like the fact that you decided that you think you decided to choose a different city, that thought just arose in consciousness. You didn't force that thought into your brain. We don't think the thoughts before we think them. They just appear in our brains.
Sam Harris actually says that we live in the memory of what we're doing, right? That we are actually conscious of the split second after we've consciously made that decision. You know, at one point he says, you know, at 28 minutes, 30 seconds into this YouTube
detailed
video.
Notes.
Yeah. Well, you know, if you're listening to this, you can look it up. A puppet is free as long as it loves its strings.
Love that quote. I wrote that down too.
So, you know, and Rock was saying just a little bit ago how if someone's talking, you're not choosing thoughts that pop into your head. Oh, I got to make the bed. Oh, I hope I don't forget the change that's in my pocket. I hope I have time tonight to jerk off before my wife gets home. You know, you're not choosing these crazy, ambiguous thoughts that are popping into your head, but you are bombarded constantly with these thoughts. And what Sam Harris says, and correct me if I'm wrong, he's saying if you can't control those things from bombarding you in the middle of a lecture, you're trying to listen to somebody and these crazy thoughts are running through your head that have no explanation of why they popped out and got your attention, then how can you have control over you don't have free will. You don't have control over those thoughts. You don't have control over, he says, if you don't know what your soul will do next, how can you have control over your soul?
And that goes along the same lines. The idea you talked about, how all the random ambiguous thoughts pop into your head and you can't help it. They just kind of arise in consciousness. I think the same idea applies to what Todd said about him choosing a different city other than San Francisco. That thought just arose in consciousness and he had no control over it.
So me saying, you know what? I know they want me to pick my favorite city. I normally would pick San Francisco, but instead I'm going to pick this one. So part of me, I guess it's why I'm still struggling with so I'll be the dumbass of the whole entire show. I'm like, so I made a conscious decision. Wait a second. I'm not going to pick what they want me to pick. I'm choosing this one. And that choice is an illusion.
Right.
There's a prior cause to that. You know that we want you to pick something.
Because you told me to, yeah.
No, the choice is your choice. If you have a blue shirt or a red shirt, you can choose it. But you can't choose the Paisley shirt because you never fucking bought the Paisley shirt. I mean, to dumb it down completely, that's what it's like. Free will would basically be you can choose any outfit you want that's ever been fucking created in the world. All right? I'll get to my point. If you were to get dressed for the day, right? Free will would be I can dress however I want. I have every fucking selection I could ever choose to dress like, right? That's the idealistic definition, right? Okay. But truly, we only can choose the clothes that are in truly our closet that we have. Those stores are around us. We've seen those advertisements on TV. We've
already bought them.
Our choices are extremely limited to what we've been bombarded with. And so that is our only true choice.
Is what's in
and
the
you
closet.
still have choice what's in your closet, but you don't have that idealistic definition of free will.
So you're talking about like a range of choices. I think Sam Harris is talking a little bit differently. He's talking about even if you did have that humongous, robust range of choices, what you end up deciding upon was not you, the conscious observer of your life, making a choice. That choice it happened because of the totality of who you are, the whole nature-nurture of what made you what you are at that current moment.
Because he gives the example of there's a murderer on trial, right? Or serial killer or whatever. But they come to find out that murderer, that serial killer, has a tumor in his brain.
Right.
Now, if they can prove that by removing that tumor, he wouldn't have had the impulses to actually carry out these murders. So at that point, can you really blame that guy? I mean, he didn't choose to have that tumor in his head. So can you blame that guy for actually following through with those actions that truly weren't his own actions? It wasn't his own free will making that determination.
This is what I thought of when I heard him make that analogy. You can't blame him. He's a totalitarian.
He's a victim of biology.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, he's the total sum of his life up to that point. I think it's gone back to what we talked about. This is what my first thought was. It goes back to what we talked about in another podcast when it comes to somebody who's killed somebody and the justice involved in that. Is that you have to go back and look at how a person was. We have to understand how somebody is raised. How do they get to the point where they think that's okay or what it is? So I was thinking still on the idea of his life was horrible and shitty, and he saw a bunch of shit. And as he got older, he thought this is okay and this is okay to do to somebody else and kill somebody. But now we can think of it in the same sense of maybe we need to go back and look at society and how people are raised and how they're living their lives so that they don't end up becoming the totality of that life that is going to end up doing what they're doing.
You and I have had this discussion, this debate back and forth for a long time. But where I think your argument fails.
Are you going to be devil's advocate? You got to be mean. Go ahead.
Yeah. Where I think where your thing fails is, well, Sam Harris is talking, have empathy for these people who have no control over that reaction.
Right.
Because they are a total of their experiences. Right. What I was saying when you and I would talk about people murdering somebody.
Right.
Well, they still did it. I don't care why they did it. I don't care that it was their parents' biology that forced them to do it. I don't care that, is it Uday Hussein?
Oh. Saddam's sons.
Uday
Hussein.
Yeah.
God.
I don't care. I feel bad for them, but I don't give two fucks. Now that they're adults, they deserve to die and be removed from my fucking existence and never to be able to do those atrocities again at that point.
Doesn't that go against kind of what Sam Harris says?
No,
though? Because if we have the tumor that's making us do that.
He's saying have empathy. Have empathy for these people because they truly can't choose. There's a lot of these things that are changing their choices in life.
Sure.
But the fact of the matter is, at this point, they're adults.
Right.
They've been created.
Right. And
whether it's their free will or not, they need to be removed.
They were dealt a very bad hand.
They were dealt a shitty fucking hand. They couldn't pick their own dad.
Oh,
at that point,
okay.
See you later.
I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm saying that we probably need to look back to see if we can somehow better society so that that life doesn't end up being that way. I'm not doubting you and your feeling about the justice system and how much you'd shoot people if they harm somebody.
Well, I don't think it's so much of an idea about the justice system. I think if we truly understand that serial killers are compelled to do what they do and they don't have a choice. It's just they're who they are, and it's something that they get off on. And to say that they could choose not to kill somebody is to say they would have been living in a totally different universe and they were a totally different human being.
Well, that goes to my point then. So we're going to kill somebody because they did something that they had no capacity to stop from doing.
Right. Well, let me finish. I was just going to say that if we understand that these people and all of us really don't have the free will mechanism, then we should look at those types of people in a much different way. Should we want revenge against them? Should we want retribution? Should we want to see them suffer the way we do now? And if, like, for example, if somebody killed a family member of mine, and I felt like I wanted to see that person suffer for a very long time, based on this idea of the illusion of free will, that would be an irrational feeling.
Right.
So,
Do you think it's feelings that get in the way of most of this stuff then?
I think feelings get in the way of the truth in almost every aspect of life, to be honest. And emotions, I think it clouds the whole logical process. Yeah.
Well, and I wonder if when Matt and I have talked a lot about this, is the idea of if somebody killed one of my children, I'm not going to say that I'm not going to want to kill them as well.
It's a natural human reaction.
So that's why I try to think about it logically and say that just because they did it to me, is it going to benefit me somehow to do it to them? Now, the logic of removing that person from society so they don't do it again has serious validity.
Agreed.
I have a hard time with the idea of, okay, I'm going to make sure I take him out, or I want him to die in the electric chair, or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like I feel like I'm lowering myself to their level to want to do the same thing that they did to me and do that back to them.
Sure.
And so I guess it is kind of removing the feeling. I mean, and that's completely subjective because I've never been in the situation and I don't know how I truly would feel and react if it happened to one of my kids.
Right.
But that's the way I've always kind of thought of it is not that I wouldn't feel this way or that they shouldn't be removed or they shouldn't be killed or anything like that. It's more of like, am I going to take where does my humanity begin and end? And am I going to stoop to their level because they did something to me? Am I going to do it back to them? And I guess that's what and it sounds like I'm a pussy, and it sounds like I don't think this person should be taken out.
No, it doesn't.
Or I'm going to freaking kill somebody. They kill my kids and be tough and stand up for things.
I think it's a natural reaction. I think most people would want to kill the person who killed their kids. I think that is a very logical reaction to a situation.
Right. But he thinks I'm being illogical because I'm thinking outside of that, saying I might not want to do that.
When you say things like that,
like what?
When you say things like not wanting to kill somebody who has killed your kids, when you actually stop and take a moment and think about it, instead of instinctively going, "They're fucking dead." What I hear is Deepak Chopra. I think I see this big spiritual, enlightened answer coming from you. Okay, instinctively that's what I feel. Whether you're trying to give off that aura or not,
not really. I like it,
or this
but
enlightened.
I'm not trying to do that.
You can feel however you want to feel about that person, but the fact is, once they've gotten to that point, Sam Harris talking about once Uday and Saddam's kids.
Right.
Yeah. Once they've gotten to that point, they're here.
Right.
They're a fucking cancer.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, you can feel bad. And yes, you can say, I'm enlightened and I've thought about this logically and I don't want revenge for their death. I don't want to hurt them to make me feel better, but I do want them fucking dead so that they don't do this shit to other people.
Right. They definitely need to be removed from society because they are a danger.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I guess maybe it's the idea then of revenge and the idea of wanting to do something to somebody else because they've done it to you, instead of the logical or reasonable idea of they're a danger to society, so they need to be removed. So,
because a lot of people who have family members killed, they really want to see the person who killed their family member suffer. They want to see them go to the electric chair or die in the gas chamber or whatnot. And we have that natural, I guess, instinctive reaction to situations like that as human beings. And, when you look at life through the lens of free will possibly being an illusion, I think that kind of starts breaking down, the logicalness of wanting to see people suffer because they didn't really have a choice.
Well, and I guess that's where the ideas of understanding and thoughtfulness and empathy come into play. Because part of me says that if you're going to be thoughtful, understanding, and empathetic towards somebody who was a serial killer, your first instinct is not to remove them from society and take them out completely and kill them on the spot.
Really? You truly think that?
No, that's what I took from his talk. I mean, he obviously said Hussein's kids would.
All I heard was to have empathy for that person because he wasn't totally responsible for getting to this point in his life.
Right.
That's what I heard.
No, I'm extrapolating from what he said in the whole thing. Him saying that that taking away free will allows us to be more empathetic and understanding and thoughtful. So then if I take that idea and I apply it to my own instance of somebody who's hurt me somehow, I should be thoughtful, caring, understanding to them. it's hard for me to incorporate that kind of thinking with the idea of, okay, so that you are now you're a dangerous society, so I'm going to take you out.
I think it's really hard.
I don't know. It's a really difficult thing for me to wrap my head around, to be honest.
Well, I think there's a thing about you're so wrapped up in emotion and you want to blame. To me, when he gives that example, I think of instead of blaming somebody because you're so pissed because you think you have this idea that they had total free will, they had total choice over their actions up to this point. And when you're looking at that and you think that, then you want revenge because you're thinking, if he's like me, if he has total free will, he totally had a choice to do or not do what he did to my daughter or son. Okay? So at that point, you're so filled with fucking rage and this primal feeling of, motherfucker, I can't believe you got there. You did what you did when you totally had a choice not to do it. And what Sam Harris is saying is they didn't have a total choice to not do it or do it because of they don't have what you think they have. You don't have what you think you have.
Right.
And so when you understand the fact that you don't have what you think you don't have this free will, you're only going to react a limited way because of your experiences. And once you can understand that and truly pull that into your understanding of how you look at life,
right,
then you can be empathetic to what he did or she did, but that doesn't mean don't remove them from your society.
Right.
It just says don't hate, don't seek revenge to make yourself feel better. You're just saying, okay, dude, you're the son of Saddam Hussein. Obviously, you're going to be fucking destroyed in the head. And obviously, you're going to do really weird shit. And you have all the money in the world to do this shit. And you have all the freedom to do this shit. And you're super powerful because you're this guy's son. How can I assume that you would be anything other than what you are?
right.
So I don't want revenge, but I do want you to never be around any fucking living person ever again.
Right.
That, to me, that's how I
And that makes sense.
explain the difference.
That's how I got it. Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense to me.
What do
It only took, 45 minutes?
hopefully people were listening to this going, okay, we fucking got it at 23
I know,
minutes.
Exactly. Can you get the dumbass off the show and just let the other two guys talk?
No, that's okay because when I first watched this video, the other feeling I got was I immediately felt like there was a loss. I'm not extremely religious. I don't go to a certain church. I don't submit to a certain type of doctrine. But once that idea was supplanted, that seed was planted in my mind that there is no free will, that basically you're on this track, that you're fucked because you never chose your parents and their parents never chose their fucking parents. It made me kind of fucking sad to think that the illusion of religion, the illusion of that there's this caring, omnipotent being of any kind that people subscribe to,
right.
Deepak Chopra and all these other inspirational people that make you want to have hope and want to inspire caring and love and all this stuff. When I watched this video, it was like, oh, I guess it's
like a shot to the gut.
I guess it's all bullshit, and we're just reacting to our stimuli, and we don't truly have the free will that we thought we had. Now, Sam Harris presents it in a way that you're like, yay, let's have empathy for fucking serial killers. And so we should embrace it. Whereas from the devil's advocate point of view, a very religious person's point of view, you're saying, you just fucking strip me of hope, motherfucker. If what you're saying is totally true, I'm going to try to rebel and fight against it, and it's going to anger me to a certain point because I can't let go of the fact that there's this loving God who's going to care about me no matter what because of all my fucking
flaws.
I
actually felt, not because probably because I'm really, really not religious, is I thought, well, that's kind of cool
because you are extremely spiritual.
Yeah, Yeah, I guess I am, but
To me, Sam Harris shits on spirituality as much as he does.
Well,
No, that's not true. He actually very strongly believes in the idea that humans can have spiritual experiences on this earth through meditation and different avenues.
Prayer was a big one.
He's very open about the different drugs that he's used to try to elicit certain spiritual experiences. He thinks that drugs are put on this earth for us to mess around with and try to get those types of experiences with.
I'm going to be in trouble now.
That's very,
you know why?
That's very, because now you want to do ayahuasca.
No, because the more I listen to fucking Joe Rogan, the more I want to do shit like that. I'm not kidding. But if it allows you to go, I didn't mean to interrupt your thought. Go ahead and finish.
Oh, I was just going to say, that's not to say that he, for 1 second or 1 iota, believes in religion. He just believes that spiritual experience is something that humans can have, and that it's actually testable in the real world.
And it doesn't require a religion or a church to be part of.
Right.
Okay.
Actually, that would be the opposite of everything he talked about.
Exactly.
You know?
Which this is a perfect testament to why you don't just base all your ideas off of YouTube videos. Okay? Maybe take a few weeks or months, read the dude's books, get a much deeper
Absorb it.
feeling of where this guy's coming from and what his total outlook is. Because, for the last 3 days, all I've done is look up
Yeah, me
his
too.
YouTube videos.
It's like being introduced to
and
CrossFit
Christopher
again.
Hitchens videos and talking about religion, and coming out of it 3 days later, just watching those videos all day long for 3 days, I'm like, I really am kind of sad.
Jesus, will you help me?
And I'm just to think of the atrocities that we've done in the name of religion.
Sure.
Listening to Barack Obama saying, hey, that guy over there, we need to drop bombs on him because he's killing people with gas. He's killing people with chemical warfare. We need to stop that. But it's okay for me to send drones.
It's okay for Saddam Hussein to use chemical weapons in 1988.
Come on. If it's okay, war is war. I'm not going to mix that shit up. But you can't say this guy is bad because he's killing people. So this guy's killing people. So let me send bombs over to kill people. Because it's okay if I kill people. It's all bullshit. It's all total bullshit.
I wonder if he walked. I wonder if he. Some people are saying two different things, that he by going the constitutional route and going to Congress, that he was able to walk back from his own statements that were were very inflammatory, and so he went the constitutional route and went to Congress to get the okay to do this, and that allowed him to take a step back and re-examine his impulse.
I don't buy that at all.
I think he totally fucked up. I think he totally fucked up and tried to swing his big dick around and say I'm the badass on the block. For whatever reason, whatever his motivations were, if it was the arms dealers,
Right.
the military-industrial complex pushing him in a certain direction, because who gives a fuck? It's not happening to us. Why is it all of a sudden that we want to take a moral high ground for what he's doing to his people when shit's going on in Darfur and all over the country, all over the world?
That's the biggest flaw of his, anyways, is the idea that he is a Democrat. And Democrats are seen as weak on defense. And so he's made it part of his game that he is going to be the president, the Democratic president, who wasn't weak on defense or acting weak. Everybody goes back to like, oh, Jimmy Carter, what a pussy, But when he was actually a pretty good president in what he tried to accomplish.
You should never go to war with somebody who's not declaring fucking war on you.
Listen, you're preaching to the choir. I totally agree. I
don't see any Republican. I can't imagine, which is probably a terrible statement, but I can't imagine any Republican coming up to me and going, no, we really should wage war on people who haven't waged war on you. Nothing from Syria has landed on our doorstep. Nothing. All of a sudden, we're just like, oh, we need to go do something.
Well, you notice he never went the constitutional route when he was sending drones to Yemen, the Sudan, Pakistan. When we invaded Libya, we didn't go do the constitutional route then, but all of a sudden now he is. And you got to take a look at some other factors that I don't think it's Barack Obama all of a sudden came to his senses and thought, well, I better start doing the right thing.
No, I think he found himself in a big fucking hole and thought, where's my scapegoat? How can I get out of this?
Yeah, you look at the polls, you got less than 10% of the American people want to go to war in Syria. You got the British, our biggest allies, their parliament voting against military action. So if he would have came out and say, hey, I am just going to send the military because I'm
the
president.
decider.
Right.
I decide things. That's what I do. I decide things.
Right, which he's already been doing his entire presidency.
That's
He's been using the
George
military.
Bush impersonation, by the way.
Really bad.
That's terrible.
It wasn't bad.
Rock's trying to make a serious statement.
I know.
You
I
keep
keep
interrupting with your
interrupting him.
dumbass comments.
It's all right. I was just gonna say that he's been doing it his whole presidency. He's been using the military as his own personal security force that he makes decisions for upon his own unilaterally, all by himself. Doesn't consult Congress. His administration has gone so far as to say we don't need congressional approval to call out the military. We might ask them, or we might let them know what we're doing.
Run it by him.
Yeah, we might run it by him, but that's terrible. I mean, Bush was bad too. Don't get me wrong. I hate both political parties. Don't get me wrong. But, Bush, I think, was president during a climate where he could not just unilaterally take control of the military. He kind of had to go to Congress a few times for authorization of force for Iraq. But you know what? If the climate was different, like it is now for Barack Obama, he would have bypassed Congress as much as he could, just like Obama does.
Yeah, I think,
So I wonder what happened with Barack Obama and his upbringing that got him to this point of not making these choices.
We can't blame him, can we?
No, I
Gotta
think
have compassion and understanding for Barack Obama.
once he got to the position that he's at, the influences, the people that he has surrounded himself with, even if he didn't choose the people that he has surrounded himself with, there's major players that influence his decisions.
Sure.
So again,
Agreed.
it only reinforces what Sam Harris is saying. You truly do not have free will. It's just like having major players, the upper 1%ers, the industrial military complex, saying, oh, by the way, you will do what we tell you to do, or there might be an accident.
Right.
So you don't have free will. You have certain choices, and you can only choose what they allow you to choose. And I think that's
he doesn't agree with. That's not what Sam Harris says. That goes back to your analogy of the closet with clothes in it.
No, yeah, okay. I still hold tightly to the idea that
there's some choice involved.
Yeah, that you still have some choice, but that choice is extremely limited. It still destroys utterly the idea that you have free will, which Sam Harris is saying.
Yeah.
You do not have free will, so give it up. You don't have it. And I am agreeing with that, but you still have an extremely limited choice. There's a difference between choice and free will. That's what I took from it.
I would agree.
Now, Rock read the books. Is that
I think
close?
I think Sam Harris is kind of putting both of those ideas together. I don't think he differentiates between choice and free will. I think it's all in the same. And he views us just like he does the animal kingdom, acting on instinct.
Would actually bolster our primal scream. Because I talk about that, right? All the time. How we fight against our primal instincts on what we are bombarded with, and we're shoved down our throats each and every day. Act a certain way. Don't look at her tits. Don't look at her ass. Be professional. Abide by these rules. Bitch, you just said abide by the rules, and the rules don't make sense. And
to
the
your
rules,
primal instincts, you mean?
period. The rules don't. Some rules just do not make sense, but they make sense if you're sitting in some boardroom somewhere and you're writing shit out and it looks good on paper. Hey, implement that policy change, would you please? Okay, but that doesn't make fucking sense.
It's been too long.
I like Sam Harris. I like what he says fundamentally, but he can come across as a prick.
See, I was telling
like a serious fucking dickhead.
Really? I see the total opposite.
I was telling Brock today. I said I think he is so cool, so calm and collected.
He doesn't lose his shit,
and I don't think
he doesn't lose his shit.
But if you're
comes across
if you're stating facts the way you believe in something, I would say that comes across as confident in your beliefs. But I never once for a thought
if I could scientifically destroy the reasoning behind why you love your kids, I would come across as a fucking dick.
See,
I say that because you have a lot of love and caring for your fucking kids. You are emotionally invested in those children.
Most of the time.
But if I were to come across with a scientific explanation that completely overrules and destroys why you're in love with your kids and why you have this empathy for your kids, you would be a little pissed off, and you would think I'm a dick for attacking such a pure and wonderful relationship.
Just because the message is offensive doesn't mean his demeanor is mean and aggressive. I mean, he's just stating facts, like Todd said.
No, it's I get it. The reason why I get that feeling from him is because other people start losing their shit when he's talking to him, and he almost has this demeanor of gotcha. And he almost has this smug look on his face. And again, I'm playing devil's advocate because I really do enjoy his talks, but in a sense, from looking at it from a different point of view, he has this smug look on his face like, I gotcha. Emotionally, you just fucking slipped.
And you've probably watched him debate some people who are creationists or religious people.
And Deepak.
Well, he is the word.
Chopra. I'm telling you.
He lost his shit.
And he is one of the calmest, quietest, most spiritual guys I've ever seen.
Sam Harris is the worst person for a person like that to debate because he knows his stuff scientifically and he's read all holy books, Quran and Bible multiple times. I mean, he can quote verses better than any priest out there, So.
I'm still caught off guard because I obviously have Deepak Chopra on a pedestal a little bit,
right? But audiobooks,
I mean, he is so quiet and thoughtful. I mean, every show I have seen him on, whether it's Oprah or some of these things I've seen on YouTube, he is just very thoughtful and considerate. Everybody. He was not thoughtful and considerate in that. He was pissed. Not
at all, because he had a position that he's trying to defend, and that position that he's trying to defend. Sam Harris is going, yeah, again, no fucking proof.
I'm not sure who this guy is. I want to see this clip.
So when you present something as scientifically factual, you better have some proof behind it. And if you say, yeah, I'm going to present this as scientifically factual, but it's faith-based. Oh, guess what, motherfucker? Whoosh! It's out of here. As soon as you say that, as soon as you give the inclination that it's faith-based, right, and that you can't solidly prove it with science, it's out. What are you fucking getting?
And
from
most religious people, we talked about this today too. Most religious people say that's the part that's faith. It's the part that is unexplainable. It's the unattainable part of the thing that doesn't make any sense, but in your heart that God's there on your side. That's the part that Christian friends of ours used to say, that's the faith part. And you can't prove it. It's just faith.
And if they admit that and just stick to that and just admit that's what it is, that it's belief without evidence, and not try to say it's scientific and there's very good logical reasons to believe it, that's where they run into problems. And a guy like Sam Harris is going to be like, you know what? No, that's not the case.
Yeah, you just tripped on your dick.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Here's another point.
I'm going to go back to the drug thing when you get a chance.
When we might get to a point, like right now, we have theories, right? We have scientific theories. We have mathematical theories. We have scientists that can't truly prove dark matter. But they know there's something that is in the fabric of space that holds planets apart, and somehow we're revolving around different solar systems. Anyway, I mean, they have things that they have thrown out there, but they cannot truly prove. And there's a lot of things that scientists do that with, right? Can at any point, I think because we're so jaded with what Christianity and other religious factions have done, right, in our past, we're so jaded with it, we want to disprove it. We want to laugh at it and joke about it and show how silly it is to subscribe to that way of thinking. Do you ever think that someday we're going to get to a point where we're like, mathematically, I can prove that these miracles did fucking happen? Mathematically, scientifically, I can show you. I mean, to me, religion is as ambiguous and unproven as dark matter is. It's only a theory, just like all these other mathematical theories and scientific theories, and it can remain to be true until it is proven completely and utterly false.
Well, that's sorry to interrupt, but I mean, there's a lot of evidence to scientific theory. Scientific theory is a lot different than what laymen think the word theory means. In science, the theory of evolution means it's been tested over and over again. There's a lot of evidence to back it up. The community is all on board that this is basically a fact. The gravity is a theory. In scientific terms, theory has a lot of credibility. So when we say scientific theory and the fact that dark matter is just as credible as religion, well, there's some evidence in support of dark matter, while there is zero evidence in support of religion. So there are good reasons to believe in scientific theories, while there are none like logical reasons to believe in books written by guys from the Iron Age. You know what I mean? You got to have some reasons to positively believe in something, and we do have reasons to believe in dark matter because there's some evidence for it, and there's not for religion.
So what you're saying is there's no proof that if I have 2 fish in a basket, I can feed a multitude of people.
That's the miracle of God. You can't quantify.
That's not a fact?
You can't quantify that.
That's defies the laws of physics as we know them. I mean, the virgin birth defies biology as we know it. I mean, they're claims upon the real world.
You know what? You're making this whole devil's advocate thing fucking really difficult. Okay.
Well, I'm sorry.
Maybe you should switch over now.
The bad part is that there are people out there, truly good people, truly really, really good people, that they need this idea. They need the idea of religion. It helps them feel like it's molding them. It's making them a better person. There's a lot of atrocities that happen in the name of religion. There's a lot of stupid bullshit that happens in the name of religion. There's a lot of hatred that is spawned in the name of religion. But there's also this idea that people gravitate towards, and they feel like they really need the idea of religion, whether it's bullshit or not. There's a lot of people. You and I, Todd, know a ton of people that went to our church, and you and I went to Bible study because, we didn't believe that bullshit, but we still wanted to hear it, and we still wanted to try to understand it. We still wanted to ask questions, and we still went back every Sunday and every Wednesday.
And part of it was the people, the fellowship, being with people that we liked, we enjoyed being around.
But do you feel like fooling yourself, even though you don't have any proof, fooling yourself to think that this is even a little bit true made you a better person? And in that regard, let's throw science out the window for a second. When Sam Harris says what he says, and he pulls down the veil of religion and how ridiculous the Bible is, no matter how he says it, the things that he says, the facts that he says, the things that he, spare the rod, spare the child.
Spoil a child. Yeah.
To spoil the child. The Bible's advocating beating your fucking kid. It's advocating stoning people.
And homophobia and slavery and everything else.
Yeah, and
selling your daughters.
Yes, your daughters. Hey, don't rape the visitors that just came to my home. Here's my daughters. That was in Sodom and Gomorrah. Okay, when angels came down to visit.
Well,
so the Bible. When Sam Harris lays it out logically, it sounds like, oh my God, this is the stupidest fucking book ever written. How can we truly be modeling our lives by it? Whereas on the other side of it, there's people that really, what are they, weak-minded?
We pick and choose which morals we want to follow from the book. They ignore all that other terrible stuff.
Yeah, everybody does. Yeah. Every single person does, because we don't follow the 10 Commandments. We don't do that stuff.
I went to that church because I really, really wanted to be part of something like that. I wanted to be part of the fellowship. I wanted to be part of the groups. I did the.
But are you saying there's no place in our society for that? No matter how or unproven it is there no place for this in human society? Does it not give us any benefit?
I think if we're going to break things down to what Sam Harris said, that compassion and understanding and thoughtfulness that when you strip away the idea of free will allows you to have, I think yes, because I know a lot of fundamentalist Christians who are anti-help the poverty, lift people up. They're all, I know a lot of fundamentalist Christians who are hardcore Republicans, pick you up by your own bootstraps, you lazy taker kind of thing. That's not very compassionate understanding towards people. And so I think that it'd be difficult.
It's not Christ-like.
It's not very Christ-like, yeah. And I think that part is something that some people have to really hold on to.
I think we got to ask ourselves too, if it's something good that we get some good things out of, we got to ask, do we get our morals from religion? And I would argue that we don't, because let's go back 230 years where this country and actually the entire world, slavery was ubiquitous.
Sure.
Slavery was everywhere. Women were subjugated to men, and all of these things were defended with the Bible. They came straight from the Bible. The Bible endorses slavery, clearly has verses in there that expects us to have slaves, give us rules for how to treat slaves, and it demeans women and puts them much lower than men. So we have grown out of that in spite of the fact that the Holy Book, has not changed.
That's a good point.
So therefore something independent of religion has changed within us. And I think that's just us becoming more civil through logical discussion, through a lot of different things, maybe some legal theory, some philosophy speaking, all kinds of different things. Basically from us being free and being able to exchange our ideas freely in a society that in which we live, not from religion, because religion hasn't changed. The Holy Book, has stayed the same, but we have changed, and I think that we don't need religion to be good people.
Absolutely,
and I think that proves it, because the book hasn't changed yet our morality has improved.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really good point. See, I knew it was a good idea to bring him on the show. He's dropping some serious knowledge, man. That was fantastic.
I love having Rock.
Yeah, that was really that's really true. And I guess I do fall back on the idea, though, if it's in a particular person who says, you know what, I feel lost, I need some support. These people offered me support and some love and some care, and some compassion. That's what that church gave me for a while. And even sitting in church and singing and clapping and being part of that whole thing was very fulfilling to me. And there is a small part of me that misses that part. But I remember sitting there feeling like an interloper, that I was
faker.
Yeah, total faker. That I just I'm loving it for all these things, but at the core thing, we're all centered around the love and light of Jesus Christ himself. And he is your love and light. And I was like, it's not.
Oh my God, there's 5 people over there with their hands raised in the air. I think they're about ready to pass out or speak in tongues. Should I? I think I should start speaking in tongues.
It's not me. And so I did feel bad, but you asked whether we still went, even though we didn't believe it, because we still wanted to ask questions and stuff like that. For me, it was more of, they felt like, I was divorced, I was lost, I didn't know what I was going to do, and I really felt like I was by myself and alone, without any support. Even though I had support, I had you, I had my parents, but I needed something. I felt like I needed something even bigger than that to help me through that time period, and it really did. I think I felt like you exponentially grew as a person during that time period, not just because of religion, but it
stopped me from being a stripper.
But I do think that did something for me for that time period, and if it does something for somebody throughout their life that really fulfills them, and they're not assholes about it, they're not, blowing it up in your face every single time and saying you're a horrible person or you're going to hell or gay people are ruining the world or hate fags and all that stuff, then I feel that religion has a place in the world. I really do. But if you're going to use it to defend killing people or to fit your own agenda, because Hitler was a big follower of the Bible, so if you're going to do those things, obviously those are evil and are manipulating religion for their own benefit. But if it's not going to harm anybody, I have a hard time saying, you got to get rid of all of it. I don't know.
Well, you can't get rid of all of it. If you got rid of all of it, you just have to get rid of freedom, which, government's on the way to doing anyway, I guess. But
there's a great speech on, what's the TED conference. There's a guy on there, and I should probably look it up as I'm talking about it.
By the way, Sam Harris has done a TED Talk before.
Oh, has he really?
Yeah, he does it on the topic of how science can answer questions of morality.
Oh,
you guys would love it. It's pretty concise too. It's about 20 minutes long.
You know what? The last 3 days,
I looked at it yesterday.
Yeah. Well, if at any point you just want to inspire us to be smarter, you can send me an email, and or else I'm just gonna be locked in on YouTube.
Hey, it comes with having no life and a whole lot of time. Let me tell you.
All right. So this guy gives a speech about atheism. Okay, and I think it's called Atheism 2.0. Right?
Yeah.
And he talks about you can be an atheist, but understand the powerfulness of religion. All these little things that religion has done, that the church has done. You repeat certain dogmas. You repeat certain chants, certain sayings over and over. You don't just pray once a day. You say the same message over and over and over. And once a week you do this, and twice a day you do that. And there's these certain rituals. And if we were to apply that same type of reasoning, that same type of philosophy to our lives, but we were to remove the context of religion, we were to remove that type of message and replace it with something that was actually truly meaningful, whether it was science, whether it was relationships, whether it was
able to fulfill you, kind of like religion does for some people.
Something that actually that could change your life, that you wanted to work on, but you used the same exact methods that religion uses. Once a week, do this. Get down on your knees and pray and use your rosary. And every time you come to a bead, you say this mantra over and over and over. And
I wonder if that's why Buddhism is appealing to me. Because I always hear these quotes that, the monk said, the guy said, how can I pray to get closer to the Buddha? And the guy said, you are nothing, so you can't get closer to the Buddha. The Buddha is you. They have these philosophical thinkings that are almost like being nothingness is the way you should be. You should think of yourself as nothingness because you're part of a whole consciousness, kind of thing. And maybe that's why it's always appealed to me the most, because it's been more of towards the philosophy of there's no one answer.
And it's not dogmatic at all.
And it's not, that you're probably right. That's probably a bigger part of it for me.
Buddhism is not dogmatic.
No, it's more of a philosophy, kind of gives you a way to live your life, so to speak, without saying, believe this or you'll burn in hell for all eternity.
Well, some people really need that.
Yeah. But see, that's the biggest part, though, for me. You don't need religion to be moral. You just don't need it. Are you a good person or are you not? Are you making good choices or are you making bad choices? Forgetting Sam Harris for a second. That's what it comes down to. Are you going to, that's why I have a hard time with it at some point. And I talk about this all the time with people. Are you going to start acting how you need to act to get along with the society that you live in? Are you going to be a good citizen? When you walk down the street, do you toss shit on the ground or do you pick stuff up as you go along and throw that trash away when you get home? Are you going to be part of something bigger than yourself and be an intricate part of that? Or are you going to be a douchebag your whole life?
I hope this comes across the right way.
Oh God, are you playing devil's advocate still? I don't like.
I don't know. I don't know what part I'm playing right now.
Mean Matt. I don't like Mean Matt. I like Nice Matt better.
But right now we're talking about religion and society in a way that reminds me of how people talk about and incorporate homosexuality, which drives me fucking crazy.
Say that whole thing again.
I don't know if I can repeat it exactly the same. The way we are talking about religion and free will and morality drives me crazy. A little bit, it reminds me a lot of how we feel we need to incorporate homosexuality into the way we talk about things. Hey, did you know that guy over there? Or that girl's a great girl. The lesbian. For whatever reason, people had to throw in these tags. Why do we have to bring to light homosexuality? Why do we have to bring to light? Why do we have to have parades? Why do we have to have this huge talk about religion? Religion to me is like a gay pride parade. Get rid of religion. You and I have a moral code because we know right from wrong. We don't need religion to tell us right from wrong. I don't need a gay pride parade to tell me that I should respect somebody's choice on how they want to live their life.
Right.
You don't, but a lot of people do. To be honest, there's a lot of people that don't like gay people.
And again, if what you're saying is correct, and you're right, there's a lot of people that need to be reminded to treat people that are gay correctly. And again, we do need people, whether it's right or wrong, we do need religion to remind people maybe on how to act. If we need a gay pride parade, then we need religion. You know what I'm saying?
I don't. What do you mean?
Yeah, I don't get it.
To me, it muddies the idea that religion puts a sour taste in my mouth about morality and ethics on how I would just basically treat people. I want to be treated well, so I'm going to treat you well.
And so you
I'm
don't
going
have
to
to
show you respect. I don't need to hide behind religion.
You don't need to see a gay pride parade to have respect and understanding for gay people. You don't need to see it being pushed like that.
Exactly. I don't need it shoved in my face. I don't need a gay pride parade shoved in my face. I don't need religion shoved in my face.
There are people that don't I think the gay people have gay pride parades to shove it in the face of people who are being douchebags.
There's still
like he's saying, not for you.
Right. There's a lingering stigma, just like back in the 60s. I compare it to the civil rights movement back in the 60s, which, also was a result of religion because black people used to be slaves and therefore they never really got full respect in our society until legislation was passed in the 60s, right? So the same thing is going on today with gay people. They're trying to become equals in society, and so they don't have to hide and live a different life or be stigmatized that the way black people were in the 60s. So they have to go out there and they have to promote these ideas just like black people had to do that back in the 60s. I see it as a very similar situation.
Because you don't have any black pride parades anymore. You don't have any marches on Washington for just black people.
You don't.
That's a good point because this is almost like a timeline experiment. We can say, let's see how many gay pride parades, let's see how many big, huge things are still going on when they've actually supposedly gotten the legal right to do what they want to do.
I misspoke in a certain way. I'm getting the wrong idea across, I think.
I think I got it.
When people are describing somebody nowadays.
So you don't like labels?
Exactly. I don't like labels at all. I don't understand why people have to feel the need to incorporate the fact that I don't need to know your sexuality. You're a great producer. You're working on the Ellen DeGeneres show. You're funny as shit. I don't need to know that you're a gay writer. Why do people feel the need to incorporate that type of label onto something? And if Rock is correct by saying that we need gay pride parades, we need to have, maybe, I don't mean to put words in your mouth, labels on people constantly to get rid of a certain way of ideas, then do certain people need religion, no matter how flawed it is? Do certain people need that? Whether it's proven or not, don't we need it somehow?
I agree with the analogy of religion and the gay pride parade being things in somebody's faces. I think that you're stepping ahead because you're thinking morally about the idea of gay people. That you don't need to hear this guy's a gay writer. If he's a great writer, I don't give a shit what sexuality is.
I have nothing against.
But I think we're still in the infancy of gay people being accepted. So it's still really important for gay people because there's still this stigma with it. For me to I'm going to let you know that I am a gay writer. I'm not just a good writer. I'm a good writer who's also gay because it's still stigmatized. I'm going to make sure you know this. Now you may not need
Try to mainstream it as much as possible.
Yeah, you may not need it, and I don't need it. You're absolutely right. But there are people who still are going to be like, if they oh, did you hear about so-and-so? Oh, he's a great guy. Oh, you hear he's gay? What? Oh, God, I'm not hanging out with him anymore. I mean, there's still that stigmatism with people, and I think that people bring it up, their sexuality, especially homosexuality, because they're still feeling like you need to be willing to think the way you do. It doesn't matter that I'm a gay writer. You should accept me as a great writer, but because you still stigmatize me as I'm a fag and I'm no good at it.
Hold on a second. You're saying that people still negatively look at homosexuals even after Will and Grace
and Ellen and everything else. God, I miss Will and Grace, man. That shit was funny.
I love it that guy is back. He's going to do another. Oh, God, he's going to do another show.
Is it Jack Saves the World or what's?
I don't know, but he's gay in it, and I didn't realize how he was going to play that role. And then his son or somebody had said, "So when exactly did you decide to tell mom that you were gay?" I don't know how it went down.
The best part was the promos where it's like zombies coming and he's got like a crossbow and he's like trying to lock the crossbow and the bow and arrows are falling all over and he turns around to the guys in the behind. He's like, "This isn't me, you guys. I'm sorry, I can't do this." And he's like fumbling with this. It was a play on that whole idea of you're trying to make me something that I'm not kind of thing. It was hilarious. I can't wait to watch that show because I like that dude.
And they have a Michael J. Fox.
Oh,
that's good.
Yeah, it's always got a new show. Yeah.
Well, I just like it that I like the fact that they are playing. I don't know if this Sean Saves the World is playing on this, but Michael J. Fox is playing off of his Parkinson's disease.
Yeah, I don't really think you can act around that.
No, but I like the fact though. It's almost like making something more. It's like making it almost like mainstream. Nobody ever stopped liking Michael J. Fox, but we did miss him.
You know what
TV.
I don't like about him? I'll put something out there. I don't like the fucking guy. You want to know why?
Why?
Because he looks exactly the same as he did in his in his TV series when he was a fucking kid.
Yeah, when he was Marty McFly.
That's right.
No, even before that.
When he was
Even
Michael Keaton or
Michael Keaton.
Alex P. Keaton. Yeah.
God,
There we
Alex
go.
B. Keaton. God damn him. The Republican
Family Ties?
Party.
Yeah, Family Ties.
Oh,
Family ties. The motherfucker has not grown an inch, and he hasn't changed one iota. He has a one or two, maybe two wrinkles more, but he defies logic.
Yeah,
he looks exactly the way he did in Family Ties,
And the weird
I
thing
really
is,
enjoy
how he
him.
hasn't changed at all. Is I think he was in his 20s when he played that high school kid. So I mean, he's been that tall for a long time because he's just
He was in his 20s when he did.
Back to the
he
Future?
wasn't a high school kid. No, and when he did Alex P. Keaton, he was in his 20s.
No, you're
early
shitting me,
20s.
really?
Yeah, he wasn't a high school
He's
kid.
such
Oh
a-
shit!
How old is that guy? Look it
He's
up real
such a
quick.
cute
I
little
am in it.
fella. You know what? Let's have we kind of put this Sam Harris thing?
Absolutely
to
not.
bed?
But I don't know how much further we can go down that rabbit hole.
Well, you know what?
saying.
Oh, we could keep going.
We can keep going.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing that I know. Here's the thing that I know for sure, beyond a doubt. I don't know it all.
Yeah.
We don't know it all. We hold fast to things that sound logical. We also hold fast equally to things that make us feel better because we have insecurities, because we have faults, because we have issues. And whatever we can use as a security blanket to make us sleep well at night, we're going to use. So for those of you that are out there listening and you're super religious and you need that, and you don't want to hear about fucking logic, you don't want to hear about science, fine. Just don't be a terrible person. Be Christ-like, okay? If you're going to stay religious, be Christ-like. Be loving and caring and accepting.
And do it because you want to do it, not because you're scared of what the guy in the sky might do to you.
There
You go.
Thank you, Ron.
Exactly.
And if you want to be scientific, great. But let's all be respectful to one another. I'm not going to change what Todd thinks totally. I'm not going to change what Todd or Rock thinks totally. This whole podcast is about stirring up conversation, making you think about things just a little bit deeper. We're not trying to depress you. We're just trying to make you think about the world in a way that maybe you've heard of before, but maybe you need to revisit.
Yeah.
You know?
That's a good way to put it.
And it's okay if you want to be a Bible thumper, if you need to be the catcher on Sunday to catch those people that the Reverend is touching and they've passed out.
Oh, the catchers.
The catcher. I worked with a catcher. Did you know that?
You did?
I worked with a guy. And I'm like, hey, man, what are you doing this Sunday? You want to get together? You want to do something? He's like, no, I'm a catcher. I'm catching. Like, what? What do you mean you're catching? What do you mean you're catching? He goes, dude, I'm a catcher at my church. I go, okay. I go to church also, and I've gone to church as a young person. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
No.
You with your 4-foot long ponytail, you're 5'2".
Okay. Judge a book by its cover. All right. Hey, listen. So Michael J. Fox was born in 1961. He started doing Family Ties in 1982. So he just turned 21 when he started that show, and he's 5'4".
Damn.
Telling you, it's a little fella, but he's a good actor.
I love him.
Well, I mean, when they were at that one clip of the
I
new
just want
show,
to hold him and cuddle with him.
when they're at the table and he's serving breakfast or dinner and he's shaking from his Parkinson's, and his wife's like, "Okay, we're starving. Nope.
Yeah, we don't want to have any personal. What is it?
Oh,
fuck.
God,
What is
damn
it?
I had it, and you just sucked it out of my brain.
You stopped. You lost it before I interrupted.
God,
what is
it's
it?
Gone. It's like it's not personal accomplishment or personal goal. It's something along the lines of you've accomplished something.
Right.
So we're not going to let you serve us and have some kind of.
I'm not waiting for you to fucking win some battle. Give me the fucking spoon. Let me dish out this corn.
Oh God, it looks so good.
It
I
does
just want
look
to
pretty
see him
funny.
on TV again. And the one with Robin Williams, Jesus Christ, the crazy ones. It looks hilarious.
I haven't seen that.
Yeah, he's
promo.
on a new sitcom, and it's a comedy. And what they do is they give him like this scene. You need to talk about this. They just let him go. So he just riffs on things, or they give him, here's the idea we're going to shoot today. What do you think about this? And he just goes with on the spot. This would be really amazing. I can't wait.
Did you have anything else that you haven't talked about that you want to talk about?
No, I think we had a pretty good conversation.
Oh, that was good.
Yeah.
I didn't know if you wanted to talk about. You're training for MMA, aren't you?
No, I'm not. I dabble in it from time to time on Saturdays here and there. I used to do a lot more full-time training when I was in college, but, life gets busy. And if I'm not going to make any money off it, there's a lot of risk involved for little reward. So
that was probably one of the biggest things I've learned from, because I'm a baby in understanding MMA, and is Joe Rogan talking to people and him saying, listen, you cannot do this. You can't just go in there. Do you know what head trauma is? You can't just fuck around.
This is a serious thing.
Well, David Cho, I don't know if you heard of that episode with him, where the guy's like, hey, I want to be a fighter. And he's like, no, you don't.
No, I don't. It's not that I want to be a fighter. I want to go in and have a fight. Have a fight, period. I want to, because David Cho talks about how he likes to feel uneasy. He likes to feel nervous. He likes to, before a podcast, before he sees somebody who's a celebrity, he gets all nervous and he throws up, but he feeds on that.
Makes him feel alive.
Yeah.
And Joe Rogan's like saying, no, you catch a knee in your forehead, dude, and you have brain damage.
He gets very serious. Joe Rogan gets extremely serious. And this guy won't let it go.
Yeah.
This David Cho won't let it go. He's like, no, seriously. Hey, do you want to fight over there? And
Joe Rogan's like,
Joe Rogan, he rolls his eyes. He's like, I'm about ready to lose my patience with you. That's the image that I got.
Yeah, totally.
From him.
Well, then Joe Rogan said, okay, now if you're going to train for a year and you find another guy who also has no MMA
same abilities,
and you guys decide just for shits and giggles, for a year we're going to train. We're going to know how to defend it. He's like, you don't even know how to defend yourself. That's the biggest. You got to learn how to defend yourself. So he's like, if you set it up so you have a year, fight the guy who's at the same level you are, you both do it together, and it's kind of like an expedition thing. Go for it.
That shit happens all the time.
But
this guy keeps, cutting him off. He's like, oh, we'll use the big gloves. He's like, no, you don't get it. There was a housewife who was fighting in a, what was it, like a tough
man contest?
Like a tough man contest. And she was fucking killed with the big puffy fucking gloves on. Mm-hmm. She was still killed.
Ugh. And
she had kids. It's just not it's not something that you take lightly. And if you're going to compete like that, you need to take it seriously and really know your shit.
And that's why it bothers me when even though I like UFC and I like watching the fights, when I see those guys take even just one or two big licks on their head when they're going out and they have no longer a way of defending themselves, and somebody's doing the fucking hammer slam on their forehead, I'm just like, just one or two of those hits, I'm like, fuck. I just hate seeing that part. It's like they're completely unprotected by somebody bashes in their skull.
Yeah. Well, that's the rule. As soon as it's clear that you cannot intelligently defend yourself, it's over.
Mm-hmm. But somebody can still get some big fucking licks in.
Yeah.
Sure.
Oh God, it makes me just cringe when I see that. Just imagine somebody kneeling on me and pounding my head with the bottom of their fist as they just slam it into my forehead. I'm just
while you're unconscious.
While you're
You know what? We're probably going to keep talking about this stuff, but we're going to let you guys go as listeners. Follow us on Twitter. Follow us on Facebook. All right. Go ahead, Todd. Lead us out.
You covered it.
No, lead us out. You say it.
Follow us on Twitter. Follow us on Facebook.
How can you follow us on Twitter?
The Primal Scream at Matt and Todd, and on Facebook it's The Primal Scream with Matt and Todd. For the Facebook page. Sorry.
Yeah.
And then that's pretty much it.
The website.
The website. Oh, how could I forget the fucking
You know what?
website?
I'm a novice at web building.
Here we go, folks.
But I'm proud of this motherfucker.
Here we go. As I got to tell you, I've been telling him all week long, I fucking love him and what he's done with this website. It is unbelievable. So, theprimalscream.org. Don't .com us because you'll get some fucking banned. .org. Theprimalscream.org is our website, and Matt has fucking rocked it. It looks so great, so easy.
I've rocked it in the sense of a novice can rock something. It's functional.
It's great.
Functional.
It's functional.
Eventually we'll have photos of guests and things like that, and I'm sure it will evolve just like our podcast is evolving. So yeah, I hope you really enjoy us. Go to iTunes, subscribe, leave comments, whatever you like. Good, bad, indifferent. I'll take it. I'll listen to it. I'll read it. I'll read your emails, Facebook us, whatever. If you have comments for our guest, Rock, fuck it. Maybe he'll read it. I don't know.
He'll read Twitter.
But you know what? If you really enjoy him, fuck it. I really enjoy him. I want him back. I want him to be a regular thing. I really enjoy your point of view. You speak eloquently. You're very passionate about what you know. You take the time to research this stuff.
Yeah.
I like it. I dig it. You know, the first talk we had with you was about politics
Mhm.
and completely different avenue, talking about spirituality, religion, free will. So I'm
Yeah.
really looking forward to what you bring.
We'll have to
to the table
we'll
next
have to do
time.
one of those. We'll have to do a plot
Can we,
politics.
can we
one.
talk about
That'd be great.
Sasquatch next time?
Oh,
Oh,
God.
can we please? I tell you what.
Seriously?
Yeah, why not?
Jesus.
Because there's a YouTube video that I want you to watch of that, because that shit is so. You watch this. I'm not shitting you. You watch it. It is about the delivery when somebody gets up on stage and they have a slideshow and they have pointers. And they come across as a very educated like professor giving a lecture.
Are the pointers like the stick with the puffy hand on the end, like teachers have?
No,
Oh,
they're
okay.
a laser pointer.
All right.
But you really sit back and you actually suspend belief for a moment. You're like, okay, I'll fucking listen.
Yeah, Bigfoot's one of those things I really want to believe in, but you know what? There really is no evidence
Well,
for it,
it's
so I
like
can't.
Joe,
You're right.
Jane,
You know?
Jane Goodall, like Joe Rogan said, Jane Goodall believes that they absolutely.
I hope they someday come up with a carcass or something to prove it, or just find a live one. That'd be awesome.
What was it? Up until the 1950s, they didn't even have a carcass of a panda bear. That was as big of a myth.
Pandas?
Pandas
Oh, I didn't know
were as
that.
big as a myth as Bigfoot was until they found a fucking panda bear.
Yeah.
Yeah. We kept on going, you guys, but we are going to wrap this up. We could talk all fucking night long, but
We're going to continue talking
we really
and drinking.
appreciate you guys listening. Please subscribe off the Facebook page, off of the web page, off of Twitter. We'd love to have you.
Yeah, fucking follow us.
Please.
Enjoy. Have a good night.
Adios.
Bye.